We're not talking about just one girl in one neighborhood in America. We're talking about everyone and how everyone can relate to this story. Taking yourself out of your own shoes and looking at life through someone else's shoes, not being afraid to take risks and being able to put yourself out there for what's right. And that's what I hope people take away from it. This movie can help bring understanding, help bring also just further the conversation that we need to keep having. This allows the conversation to stay alive instead of just being swept under the rug years and years. There's something that's wrong. Something is wrong in our justice system. We see a lot of injustices, and we need to keep talking about it. And that's what I feel like we're doing with this movie. George Tillman is by far, hands down, one of the best directors I've worked with. Just his attention to detail alone. He sat me and Amandla down countless times, and we ran through a bunch of exercises just to make sure we had that chemistry on set, to make sure nothing felt forced or felt fake. So having him there was definitely like having an angel on my shoulder for sure. He's one of the best, honestly, one of the best directors I've ever worked with.
It's time for us to speak up for Black lives and ensure that we are treating every single citizen of the United States as human, that we are placing a lot of value in their lives, and hopefully through this personal narrative people are able to gather the empathy that they might not have had when they weren't able to put themselves in the shoes of these people. Every single day on set, we were constantly referencing the book in Angie's incredible words. We were in there day in and day out. I was always scouring for every minuscule detail that Starr might have felt or how she might have communicated herself, because it was the most important to us to stay as authentic to that piece as we could, because it is such an important piece that is so authentic and fresh and communicates everything perfectly.
It started as my senior project. I wrote The Hate U Give as a short story for my senior project after the shooting death of a young man named Oscar Grant in Oakland, California. At my school, I was a lot like Starr. I lived in these two different worlds, and a lot of my classmates didn't understand the anger and frustration over Oscar's death. So I wrote a short story to hopefully help them understand, and that later became The Hate U Give. Amandla is the perfect Starr because when I was writing this book, I saw her video, Don't Cash Crop My Cornrows. And I remember watching that, and I was like, that's exactly who I want Starr to be. She's passionate about what she believes in. She doesn't hold back. She speaks up, speaks out, and she's everything that I want Starr to be. She is Black girl magic personified. So I'm honored, and I am grateful that she took this role on. George has made sure that this has been a collaborative process. He has respected the source material, and he's respected me as the source of the source material. So together we've had a lot of conversations about everything, from the houses, the way the houses are supposed to look, to the characters themselves. So we've had a great working relationship throughout this project, and I think that our collaboration shows.
I think that it's a revolutionary film. The topic is so important. We're dealing with it right now as we speak every day, and for Fox to kind of be the first to take on this project, I think it's phenomenal, and I'm excited for the world to see it. I think we get to get a glimpse of the people that sometimes we see on the news and we don't get the full story, but here tonight in this film, I kind of think we get that.
I think it's very important. I mean, we address, obviously, police brutality in the film, but at the heart of it is a story of a 16-year-old girl and her really trying to be true to who she really is. I mean, she lived two different lives. When she's in a white world and her private school, she's one way. When she's in her home with her family in the inner city and Garden Heights, she's another way. And we cannot be two people. Why not be true to yourself and who you want to be? And everybody can relate to that, and I think that's the power of this film. The heart of the story is this family, this young group of family who come together under this tough circumstances, how they go beyond that. And our script really related to all these different things, and we got a great cast that can bring that to the table.
This is an everyday occurrence at this point, and you constantly hear stories about police brutality, and there's such a disconnect in terms of, Americans, and there's an us versus them mentality, and it really forces you to empathize in a real way and to talk about why this is a very real problem in this country that people are denying. Young people are the only ones that can change the world at this point. You know, the country, they'll inherit the country. We've seen that with the Parkland victims who have really used their voice to elevate the issue of gun control, who have, you know, watched their friends die. And Starr, though a fictional character, is in a similar situation where she watched her best friend die and she has to decide how she's going to use her voice. It's scary, but it really is a story about, you know, bravery and necessity and survival.
We all have a voice. We all have our own authentic voice. And we all go through a certain time of our lives where we're trying to find that voice. And I think, you know, whenever there's times where you can use your voice in a positive way, if there's, you know, something going on or an injustice happening around you, to use your voice. Because you have a voice and you can use it. So if you can use it positively, do it. Our movie is shown through the eyes of an African-American female, which is unique in itself. How many movies do you get to watch through those eyes? I think that's, you know, probably one of the most amazing things about this film too. Working on this film, I definitely learned and realized and now aware of my own privilege, which I think is important for people to realize. That was probably the biggest lesson that I learned from this.
I'm excited for this movie to release because I think that people need to see this. You know, it's very timely, it's very current, and I think Angie Thomas did such a great job with the book, and I think George Tillman did such a great job with the film, and I think people will really resonate with it. Even though it's very heavy, the underlying thing throughout the film is love. And I really hope that they take away that even though all these things and issues are happening, that love could potentially be the remedy for all of this craziness that is happening in our world. Everybody was such a joy to work with. Everybody was so talented, and I really think that it shows on screen. And you know, once again, I'm so proud of this film, and I couldn't be happier to be a part of it.
I don't think we can have movement forward unless we have a conversation about what exists already. And I think this movie will be thought-provoking, and it will spark a lot of conversation. When there's a loss, there's a person behind it. I think we kind of get so used to news stories and we forget that there are effects that hurt families and communities and people who love each other when these things happen, and that there's a loss of a life. And I think sometimes we forget the enormity of that. There was so much information in that book that, like, she made my work so much easier. I mean, I think she was so clear about that family and who they were and the nuances and the colors of the dynamics and the relationships, and so definitely, here's my hubby, it definitely made it.
So fine.
That's why I married him. That's why I married him. And so I just, you know, I think that she gave a backdrop that was phenomenal.
We all want the same things for our family. We want to raise them right. We want to protect them. We want to educate them. And I think this movie gives an opportunity for audiences to see that. You see a young girl who's just trying to find her identity, like many young girls in this world. You see a family who's trying to raise their kids the right way, like many families do. You see a family that's trying to protect their family, right? Protect their kids, like many families do. And so, you know, you get through, but it's specifically told through our authentic cultural specificity. You know what I mean? But it's still universal. We have a lot of pent-up anger, a lot of pent-up anxiety, right? For many various reasons. And I think this will be just a moment where people can just release that pressure, that anger, that frustration, that pain, and go, whew. We're in a time and in a moment where people need to take time to feel. To just feel, laugh, cry, you know what I mean, get mad. And I think what this movie will represent is a pressure release of sorts.
I think they're going to see the importance of family. I think they're going to see the importance of finding your voice where you may not think you have one. I think they're going to see the importance of empathy over sympathy. Like, there's so much to take away from this film that I think whoever needs it is hopefully going to find what they're looking for. Angie's the reason we're all here, but George also did something so special with bringing a really, really difficult script to life. The fact that TIFF has accepted this story and wanted to support it is really special, and we're all lucky to be here.
It was really fun working on this movie. I liked meeting everybody. Everybody is super helpful, so everybody's super helpful and nice, and they made me feel like family, so now they're like my family too.